friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today I'm going to be making another oil infusion for skincare. And this is something you can use for making a healing salve or just a general skin cream you use on your face or anywhere that you need it. I use my skin cream for everything. It's a multi-purpose. And if you're interested in my video recipe I did on that, I'll go ahead and link to it in the description box down below. But basically, this is just an update to the infused oil that I make because it changes all the time depending on what I have most available. Now, before I get started, I want to make sure you understand you can use any one of the herbs, any combination of the herbs, 2, 3, 10, however many herbs you want to add to yours, but it has to be based on what is best for you. For example, some people could be allergic to any of the herbs that I'll be using, so those are the ones that they're going to want to leave out. So if it's roses you're allergic to, leave out the roses, and so on and so forth. And again, just make it out of what is most simple and easiest to come by. And a couple of these that most people already have growing, whether they realize it or not, are dandelions. So dandelion flowers in particular are really great for skin health, and plantain leaves. So whether it be broadleaf plantain or the lance leaf plantain, either one can be good. I have mostly broadleaf growing, and that's also the seed that I sell in my store. But a lot of you probably already have it growing and you don't even realize it. So the leaves are really great for skin health and many other things. So those are just a couple of really cheap examples that you can start off with that are excellent. Some other ones, if you're already growing comfreys, comfrey is great. Another wild herb that you're probably already growing or have close to you is red clover. So I've been using the red clover for quite a while now in the skin cream once I learned about it. But this is all that I have left from last year. So that's one of the reasons I'm always updating. Honeysuckle is another great one, but I ran out of the ones I dehydrated from last year because my plants are still fairly new, even though I was only using a pinch in each batch. But I go through a lot because I sell quite a bit of skin cream. If it was just for me and sharing with my loved ones, it wouldn't be an issue. But because I sell quite a bit on the store, I have to make sure I have plenty of herbs. And I like to use my own herbs because I know they're 100% organic when I'm making the skin cream. So let me list off a few more, and that would be that I like to use. That would be marshmallow flowers and leaves, rose petals, calendula flowers, lavender flowers and leaves. That's why it's not entirely purple, because I use both. And then a new one I'm adding this year since I learned about it was the Camellia flowers, so that's going to be going in today's batch. Another one that I grow that is really great, especially for healing, would be yarrow. And I'm not, even though I got a full jar, it's my last one, and I have plenty of herbs already going in here. Violets, and then Usnea is, or old man's beard, is also very good for healing. And the thing that's nice about this, and I would say this would probably apply to any of your dried herbs, is that you can either add it to your oil infusion or you can powder it up and just add it directly to your salve that you're making. And like I said, I think that would probably apply to any of them. I would just prefer to infuse it so I don't have little bits in there, or to try to at least cut down on the bits. I always still end up with little bits of herbs in there, you know, that don't totally get strained out. And then the amounts you use are gonna, again, be entirely up to you. I usually make it in a quart jar. You can do smaller if you don't think you need very much. And I usually try to get my herbs up to about the 3/4 mark on there. And that's without packing them in. That's just adding them in. So I usually try to get them up to about 3/4 of the way full in the jar itself. And since I never actually measure, I usually just put in pinches at a time until it looks good, and then I add my oil. I'm going to go ahead and use a spoon just to kind of give you an idea, and I'll work up from there. By the way, as far as though I've used these herbs, the comfrey, the plantain, the dandelion flowers, along with yarrow in my healing salve oil, I'm actually making a standard oil that I'll be using for all of the above. So whether it be my basic skin cream or my healing salve, which I just add different essential oils to that, both work really great for healing anyway. This will be the first time adding it to just my basic recipes. So this will be the skin cream or salve that I use for whatever I need it for. So let me go ahead and start with these three. So I've got the plantain. So let's put in, I'll put in one heaping spoonful of each. Put a candy funnel on there so I don't make as big of a mess. I forgot to do that. That does help. So the same thing with the comfrey. I'll put in a heaping tablespoon of that. And on with each of the herbs. I'm just going to list them as I go. Dandelion flowers. And by the way, typically if I only have a little bit of one herb and I want to use it, let's say I'm going to add my little bit of violets here, then I would just put a pinch in there just to add it. But I'm not going to be using these in the skin cream until I get enough. Now I used to put pansies in a lot because I'd grow a lot of pansies, but I'm not doing as much pansies lately. But pansies are a great option. So marshmallow leaves and flowers. This is one of the big ones that I use quite a bit of. I usually add a lot more. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and do 2 spoonfuls of that one because this is one, just like the plantain and the comfrey, I can definitely get a lot of. Calendula, I usually do pretty good with this, but let's just go ahead and stick with 1 spoonful of that. This is all from last year's right here. Setting these to the right so I know for sure which ones I've added. We'll put some rose petals. Lavender, and I probably am just going to stick with 1 spoonful of the lavender. And let me go ahead and put, because I know I'm going to add more comfrey and plantain, so let me go ahead and put another spoonful of those, each of those in there, and we'll see where we're at. Okay, and now let's add the red clover and the camellia flowers. So I'm looking at my jar, and though half is a good place to be, I always like to put more. So I'm going to go ahead and layer some more of each of the herbs in there, at least most of them. I'm not going to add any more of the red clover or the lavender because I'm so low on these right now, but I'll go ahead and put more of each of the rest. So that's more than 3/4 of the way full. But that still looks good. You can go as full as you want. You can fill it all the way up. Just remember, the more herbs you have in there, the less oil you're going to end up with at the end. But the more herbs there are in there, the more potent the oil is going to be. So I ended up with 3 tablespoons each of the marshmallow, comfrey, and plantain, and then at least 2 tablespoons of most of the rest, and then 1 each of the red clover and lavender, just because I have so little left of each of these, and it might be, from the time I'm shooting this video, a little while before I get enough harvested that I can start using it a little more heavy-handed. So some oil options would be, yes, you can use organic extra virgin olive oil. It is very great for the skin. However, it's not something I like to use in my infusions because I like to infuse in warmer areas so that it will infuse faster, because the warmer it is, the faster the infusion. And olive oil can go rancid if it gets too warm for too long, especially for too long of a period of time. Even if it's not super hot, it can, if it's exposed to heat for too long, it can go rancid. Or if it's exposed to heat for only a short period of time at a high heat, then it will go rancid. So I don't use olive oil for that reason. However, if you don't mind letting it infuse for a longer period of time, you can do a colder infusion. So keep it in the cooler part of your house, anywhere where you're going to store your olive oil and it doesn't go bad, and then just leave it for a few months and let it infuse. But if you're wanting it quicker, I suggest going with an oil that can handle higher heats and then keep it in a warm place. So I go for avocado oil. I believe grapeseed oil is another option as far as that, and a fractionated coconut oil. Now I set some the organic coconut oil back here, but this is not fractionated, and here, because we stay cooler, it's always in a solid form. So that's why I don't use that, because it wants to solidify even in some of the warmer areas of the house. But if you're keeping it in a pretty warm area, or you're already in a warm enough area where it's at least 76 degrees and above, that's the melting point for coconut oil. So you could probably do that with that, or use the fractionated. So what I do is I simply just start adding the oil over the herbs like so until it gets to the top, and then you can just let it sit and bubble if you want. Or you can take your chopstick and you can just start pushing it down in there or stirring it. And that will help work the air bubbles out of there, and it's going to start, the herbs are going to start absorbing the oil as well. And then I just keep filling it, and I'll keep doing that. You can even put your lid on and then shake it up. So you want to get as much oil in there as you can. I still see bubbles working up, so I'm going to go ahead and just do that with my chopstick. And if it's not so full that you can stir it, you can do that too. I have room to add a little more, so let's get that in there. Okay, I think that should be good. And then what you want to do is you want to go ahead and put a tight-fitting lid on there, and you want to mark it. So I let mine infuse for 2 months minimum, and even in a warmish area, but you also don't want it to get too hot. I don't recommend personally doing sun infusions because I believe the sun can also degrade the herbs and make them less effective. I also believe that if you allow it to get too warm, that can affect the benefits of the herbs. So I just keep it in the warmest part of my living room, which is close to the wood stove without being on the wood stove or touching the wood stove where it's going to get really hot. Just nice and warm is where I want it. So I'm going to go ahead and date this. And today is April 28th, so I'm going to put that on there. And now I want to let it sit until at least the end of June. And what I like to do is shake it up periodically. That's going to really also help the infusion. Now you could possibly go less time than that. I just always, 2 months is my standard guide when it comes to any kind of infusion or extract. I always go at least 2 months. And while there's going to come a point where it's going to extract everything it's been able to extract, I think the longer you leave it, the better. And then you'll just strain it out and use it in whatever salve or skin cream you're going to make. You can also use it directly as is if you want. It doesn't have to be made into a salve, which usually involves using some kind of butters and or beeswax. And that again is going to be dependent on how sensitive your skin is. Some people are allergic to bee products, so beeswax isn't an option. So in that case, you'd want to use some good butters like mango butter, cocoa butter, shea butter. Shea butter is the one I most commonly use, and that will help make it thicker. You just would increase the amount of that you mix in with it. And then I also have a video on some ideas of what you can do with the expended herbs. I wouldn't try to infuse them again because there's not going to be much good left in them, but you can use them for fire starters. You can add them to cooking if you want. All right, well, that's my updated infused oil for skin cream and salves. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and share with us your ideas down below. What are your favorite herbs to use? Do you like to use one herb? Do you like to use 3? Do you like to use a whole bunch like I do and just get all the goodness in there? Let us know in the comments down below. All right, well, thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.